Greetings. I am Dr. Paulina Van, author of Regala Healing, an evocative approach to self care, self understanding, and inner healing. I have the honor of hosting this show, The Poetry of Healing, and I'd like to welcome you from all over the world. And we'd love to know where you are joining from, so please put it in the chat. Celebrations for the Thanksgiving holiday are nearing, and we will be formally celebrating it in 10 countries across 5 continents, such as Africa, Asia, Europe, North and South America. And as I reflected on the purpose of the holiday, that is gratitude, I wondered, how does an unforgiving spirit or mindset affect one's experience of gratitude giving and receiving? So I reached out to my pastor, Bishop Keith L. Clark, because I know he will bring a real perspective to forgiveness. He will join us later in the show. So I ask you that you join me and embrace the goals for this session, including learning about what forgiveness is and is not, learning how being unforgiving affects your life. And then we're going to give you tips of how to practice more forgiveness. And we'll end with a meditation to help you embrace forgiveness. We always begin with a centering exercise to help us focus and collect our energy for this time together. And it's a time for you. It's a gift for yourself. So this morning, we're simply going to use our breath and a soothing exercise, a soothing gesture to guide us, relax us, and focus for this session. So first, I'd like to show you a couple of soothing gestures, self-soothing gestures, and those who have been with me before may be familiar with them. So the first one is just putting your right hand over your left chest. And then you can add, I know you can't see my hand on my belly, but you can put your left hand on your belly and just lower your gaze or close your eyes. Closing your eyes helps you focus on your breath. And so I'd like you to take a deep breath in through your nose, count of 4, and then hold it, and then out for a count of 4. Yes. Take another deep breath, and as you inhale, feel your hands just moving with your body. So inhale, and your chest and belly rise, and then exhale, and then they get soft again. And if you do this long enough, you'll get a rhythm, and you'll sense that you're being relaxed, okay? Take another one on your own. Nice deep inhale and exhale. So this is self-soothing breathing. So I'm going to change it up a little bit. I'm going to ask you to take a nice, slow, deep breath in and out to notice you are here. Take a nice, deep breath in and out to notice how your body feels. And then last breath, take a nice deep breath in to enter this session. Okay, for those of you who have just joined us, I am Dr. Paulina Van, author of Regala Healing, an evocative approach for self-care, self-understanding, and inner healing. And I host this show, The Poetry of Healing. Today's show is about forgiveness, what it is, how it affects us, and how to practice more forgiveness to draw peace, joy, and overall well-being into your life. So you are just in time to meet our guests. And I'd like to welcome to the show my pastor, Bishop Keith L. Clark. Good morning, Bishop.
Good morning, Dr. Van, and to all of the listeners. I am just excited to be here. How are you this morning?
I'm gonna tell the truth because before we signed on, I told you what was happening. Last night, I didn't have a voice.
Oh,
So
wow.
I thought I was gonna have to call my bishop up and ask him to run the show. But God is good, and I have my voice this morning.
Okay.
So this is really special, Bishop, because you were the first guest I had year one,
Hmm.
and you're the first guest I'm having year two. So we gotta
Oh,
keep, we gotta keep this going, right?
you always make me
Okay.
feel like I'm somebody.
Yeah, no, you are somebody. Yes, yes, you are a spiritual leader and just a phenomenal human being.
Bless you.
So
Bless you.
you're welcome. So I invite you to tell our viewers a bit about yourself, and then we're going to jump into talking about forgiveness.
Okay. My name, as you said, is Keith Clark. I've been the senior pastor of Word Assembly Family of Churches, which is one church in 4 locations here in the Bay Area. We have 2 in Oakland, one in Antioch, California, and one in Tracy. And I'm just excited about all that God is doing in the life of our ministry and all of the areas that God, since the pandemic, has allowed us to touch, working there in Los Angeles with Bishop Noel Jones in the City of
Mhm.
Refuge and several churches across the Bay and across the country. And so I'm just excited, busy, but blessed. That's my new motto. I'm busy, but blessed. And I'm grateful to God for that and glad to be on the show today. Thank you so much. And so proud of you. 1 year. Oh my God. Time passed by fast, doesn't it?
It it
Oh
it
my God.
it really has, and it's been the viewers that have really their inspiring comments, their encouraging comments, and
Hmm.
so um, would you say something about the word of the day because that's another way um,
You
that.
know what? I knew in the back of my mind, I knew you were going to ask me something about that. And the word of the day is a message that we give Monday through Friday, about 2 minutes. And we started it many years ago, but we saw the impact in very living color, if I could say that, during the pandemic. And it's just messages we send to just inspire, encourage, and keep people lifted up
Mhm,
as we go throughout this new normal that we all are facing as a result of coming out of this pandemic. So
mhm,
every morning, Monday through Friday. Now, I'm unprepared because I don't have the number or any of that kind of stuff. So maybe you could give your viewers that. But anybody, it's free, no charge.
mhm,
And it's, I think right now we've been blessed during the pandemic to reach a little over 3,000 people that we're talking to Monday
mhm,
through Friday. So
mhm.
it's been a blessing.
And Bishop, your messages have been inspiration for a number of my poems. So I just
Praise
thank
God.
you very much. There may be someone. I will put it in the chat after the show, but there may be someone viewing from Word that could put it in the chat right now. So
Yes.
let's jump into this forgiveness.
Hmm.
So I usually like to begin with defining the term
Hmm.
so that the viewers and us are all on the same page. But I want to start with, I'm going to, mix it up a little bit. And I want to start with what forgiveness is not.
Mm.
Okay. Because some people think
Hmm.
that forgiveness, if you forgive somebody, you're allowing them to get away with their actions. Okay.
That's right.
So, is there anything else you'd like to add about
I,
what forgiveness is not?
as always, I think your sensitivity to what I would embrace as the spirit, others may call the energy, but I'm always amazed at your sensitivity to the spirit because that is so true. Many people, Dr. Van, are confused about what forgiveness is. Hence, they never engage in the act or the process of it. Forgiveness is not trusting.
Mhm,
And a lot of times, the feeling of um, people getting over on you, the feeling as though you're letting people escape their responsibility or you're letting people avoid consequences is because we're thinking that if I forgive you, then I automatically trust you. And I
mhm,
think someone said, I don't know who it was who coined the phrase, but forgiveness is divine, but trust is human, which simply means that all of us who have been forgiven are inspired and encouraged to forgive. But
Mhm.
trust has to be earned. So I
Mhm.
think you're exactly right. Forgiveness is not trust,
Mhm.
nor is forgiveness instant reconciliation, right? Sometimes people think if I forgive you, then I put you right back where you were before the incident happened. Not
Mhm.
the case at all, especially
Mhm.
when you're talking about forgiveness between human beings.
Yeah.
Now, when you talk about forgiveness and the divine, that's different. Why? Because he's divine, right?
Mhm.
So it's
Mhm.
never him getting to know us, it's us
Mhm.
getting to know him. But forgiveness, two things to understand: it's not trust and it's not instant reconciliation.
And if I might add, Bishop,
Hmm.
thank you, that it's not minimizing the hurt you feel.
Not at all. Exactly.
You still hurt. So let's talk about what forgiveness is. And when I brought this topic to you, your question was, is it an act or a
Hmm.
process?
Yes.
So I don't know if you want to take it from there or you want to go in another direction, but what is forgiveness?
Forgiveness, and of course, my definition of forgiveness is based upon what I understand the scriptures to speak to that.
Mhm.
And the New Testament speaks a lot about forgiveness. It speaks about God forgiving us, but it also speaks about us encouraging us to forgive others. And in simple, if I could give a working definition for forgiveness, it is to cancel the debt. It is
Mhm.
to say to the individual, you have hurt me. I'm acknowledging that you've hurt me, but I'm not going to allow the hurt you caused to hold me hostage.
Mhm.
Forgiveness is freeing yourself, not the other person. I can't tell you countless of times I've had conversations with people over the 29 years, Dr. Van, and trying to get them to see, and when they do, it's like an aha moment. Trying to get them to see that forgiveness is not for the victimizer, it's always for the victim. Because in
Mhm.
many cases, people who have hurt you have went on with their lives. People who have hurt you, and in some cases, are not even aware of the damage their words or their lack of presence has brought you. So forgiveness is for the person who's been hurt. And it's literally saying, I acknowledge that you have hurt me, but I will not allow this hurt to hold me hostage. It's canceling the debt. Another way of looking at it, it's saying, you've done me wrong, and I'm not going to allow what you did in the past to have any more bearing on how I move in the future.
Oh, oh, yes.
Hmm.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. You don't want to carry this hurt with you. It becomes baggage that you're
Yes.
carrying with you every place you go, every word you say. So,
Hmm.
Bishop,
Hmm.
in your role as pastor and just in everyday life, what are some of the life experiences that happen and people struggle with forgiving?
Well, I tell you, let me take a page out of my own life, Doc.
Hmm.
Uh, and this is a very transparent moment, and I'm always uh, like that with you. We have that kind of relationship, and I hope this helps your viewers. From age 7 to 9, I experienced sexual assault by a family member, and I lived with that confusion. I lived with that pain. I lived with that shame. I lived with the hurt and the damage to my psychic for years. And it's not until about maybe 17 or 18 through prayer and therapy. Now that's a conversation because,
Yes.
it's just not praying to Jesus, it's also talking to a human, which Jesus himself models for us. Here, Mary has Jesus on the inside of her, but yet she needs Elizabeth to confirm it. So even
Mhm.
with God on the inside, you still need a human touch. And about 17, 18 years old, I started going to therapy. And in that experience, I was able to forgive my predator. I was
Mhm.
able to say to him, what you did was wrong, but
Mhm.
I'm no longer going to live under uh, that act and holding hostage. And so that experience freed me in ways and allowed my life, in a very real sense, to be what it has become. Because I've seen people and I've counseled people who went through experiences like mine,
Mhm.
who still to this day struggle with that because they have not come to terms with
Mm.
forgiving that person for themselves. I can't stress that enough. It's not for the villain, if I could
Mm.
use that term, it's
Sure.
for the victim. And
Mhm.
so that one experience is one that I often relate to, which
Mhm.
allows me to bring to the surface that forgiving is not just an act, it's a process. It is
Mhm.
something that you may have to revisit within yourself every time that feeling comes up, every time that thought comes up. Hey, I am not going to entertain this. Why?
Mm.
Because I've let that go. And
Mm.
sometimes the trick of the enemy and those evil forces that are out there is
Mhm.
to keep on your mind something fresh that you know you have dealt with. You know, you hear people say, I'll forgive, but I'll never forget. And here's what I've discovered, that forgiveness is not forgetting, it's
Mm.
just not allowing what happened in the past to stay presently on your mind. It's a past act, it's not a present condition.
Mm. Bishop Clark. So first of all, let me just you are very transparent, and um, as long as I've known you, I did not know that life experience that you just shared, and so I want to thank you
Mhm.
for being so transparent. And my heart just started to cry when you were talking.
Mhm.
But there's the good news,
Mhm.
and that is you were able to forgive. And there's
Yes.
something before we go into how can we learn to forgive? What does it take?
Mhm.
There's something you said about telling the story over and over again, and that's what creates the long-standing hurt when you
Mhm.
keep it in your mind and you keep telling people about the story. You
Mhm.
do need to share it,
Mhm.
but it should not become part of your daily or regular thinking or conversation. What do you think about that?
I think you're exactly right.
Mhm.
The Apostle Paul, in his letter to the church at Philippi, says, forgetting those things that are behind me. Now, it's interesting because when he makes that statement, he has just spent some time recalling those things that were behind him. So, Paul,
Mhm.
if you're recalling them, how are you saying you're forgetting them? And here's what I've come to understand, what Paul is teaching us is that to recall what has happened does not mean you're focusing on it. A better way
Mhm.
to say it is that you cannot or you maintain peace by refusing to entertain the pain.
Mhm.
You maintain by refusing to entertain. And I think a lot of times what happens is people relive the situation, and in their rethinking it, reminding, rehearsing it. That's a good way to say it.
Yes.
Oh, I just got something. I just If you rehearse, you
Mhm.
nurse.
Oh,
But if
yes.
you forgive, you disperse.
Oh, yes.
And a lot of times we feel the pain because we're constantly rehearsing. But through prayer, through faith, through this kind of treatment, and that's what I call this kind of treatment, this kind of dialogue, you're
Mhm.
able to disperse that. You're able to get that out in a healthy atmosphere. So
Mhm.
I think it's talking about what you have dealt with, the pain you've experienced in healthy atmospheres,
Mhm.
in positive places. Because when
Mhm.
I'm able to share in that kind of setting, that I'm not digging up the wound, I'm receiving the healing.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so I would say to those who are listening and those who will view that the pain that you've experienced, it is a part of your past. Don't allow it to hold you hostage in your
Mhm.
present. And you do that by having healthy conversations about it. And you know you're having healthy conversations because healthy conversations always leave you better after the conversation than
Mhm.
you were before.
Yes, yes. And Bishop, the other thing, I love what you said, not having it, it's almost like not having it become part of your genetic makeup because
That's yeah.
it you keep talking about it and putting too much on it.
Hmm.
And the other thing that I thought about, Bishop, was that this hurt stays around because you're blaming the offender for how you feel instead of what he or she did.
Yes.
See, because
Yeah.
you're responsible for your own feelings.
You're
So,
exactly right. And to
mhm,
know that feelings are indicators, they're not dictators.
mm,
Feeling is an indication that something is wrong, but it does not have to tell me how to live, how to act. And a lot of times when we've been hurt and we feel that pain, we then from that pain live. And that's where I think causes the problem, and causes us never to reach our full potential after the pain. And so
mhm,
forgiveness opens the door for you to free yourself. I can't stress that enough. It is not for the person who has done the wrong. Forgiveness is for you. Because guess what? Sometimes, Doc, you can forgive a person and, well, I didn't do anything. I can remember having counseling sessions with people, couples, and they're in there, they're talking, and one person says to the other, well, I'll forgive you. Let's get past it. And that person says, well, I didn't do anything wrong. And
mm,
sometimes the forgiveness is not going to always come with an apology. And you've got to be okay with that.
mhm,
That's why you
mhm,
realize that the forgiveness is not for them. Because when I choose not to forgive, it's like me holding myself hostage.
mhm,
And that's
mhm,
when I start reliving it. That's when I keep talking about it. Because
mhm,
I'm looking for something from the offender that
mhm,
the offender may not be able to give
mhm,
because they haven't recognized what they did is wrong. But
mhm,
forgiveness has nothing to do with them. It has
mhm.
everything to do with you.
Oh, Bishop, you are nailing it. And so, as we talk about what happens when you don't forgive,
Mhm.
there's an emotional impact, a psychological impact, a physical impact. You may get stomach aches, tense muscles, um, and the research. Okay, so viewers, I like to put some research in here, and the research shows that it may lead to heart disease or
Wow.
abnormal blood pressure readings. So
Mhm.
it's so important. But you mentioned, Bishop, one of the things that gets damaged is trust when someone hurts you.
Mhm.
Can you talk a little bit about what happens to the confidence of a person that's been, uh, hurt? Um, so, say they, break up a
Mhm.
relationship, their relationship breaks up, and their confidence is low, meaning they don't, being that they may not be able to attract another mate or partner. So, would you like to speak about confidence?
Yeah, I think, confidence in my estimation is it's that self-esteem. It's the proper view of you. It's seeing yourself the right way. And I think when somebody has hurt you, the challenge and the temptation becomes what this person has done to me causes me to see myself wrong. But I think, Doc, and this may be a topic for another show,
Mm-hmm.
what it speaks to that we should never, ever entangle ourselves with someone to the point where their treatment of us dismantles our identity. You know what's interesting? As I studied the scriptures, and I've been preaching since I was 17, there's no passage. God says, love one another. He says, forgive one another. He says, pray for one another. He says, to help one another. But he never commands us to trust one another,
Mm-hmm.
which means that trust has to be earned. And when somebody has hurt you, it weakens your confidence. It has a tendency to weaken your confidence because we put trust in people to the degree oftentimes we never should have. Trust has to be earned. It's almost like Dr. Prevost would tell us this in seminary. He says, when people come into your life, let them take the stairs to your heart, not the elevator.
Oh,
Let them
oh,
earn.
say that again.
When people come into your life, let them take the stairs to your heart, not the elevator.
Ooh.
Let them earn that space in your life. And sometimes, we are just, and I think it can stem from childhood trauma. We're looking so much to be accepted, so much to be affirmed when we haven't had that as kids. And we meet somebody and we just fall out, right? We fall in love. Somebody said you better start walking in love because you fall,
Mhm.
you hurt yourself. And we
Yeah.
go we go through those experiences. And I think it comes back to what you said earlier, that or what we mentioned earlier, that trust has to be earned. Because
Mhm.
where there is trust, there is an opportunity for reconciliation.
Mhm.
But in
Mhm.
order for me to trust you, I've got to feel a certain way about myself,
Mhm.
because trust is something I give. And if I don't feel a certain way about myself,
Mhm.
then I'm not going to be able to give trust, because I
Mhm.
don't think trust is something I can give.
Sure. Sure. So we're nearing the end, and I really want us to be able to give our viewers at least one or two tips. How do they learn to forgive, or how do they get the courage to forgive and heal?
I would say two things that come to mind. Number one, if you're going to forgive, acknowledge that pain has been caused. This is not your fault. When I went through what I went through as a kid, I was feeling, well, maybe I did something wrong, or I wasn't a good boy, or no, it's not your fault. When someone has damaged you, when someone has hurt you, that is not your fault. So forgiveness starts with you not taking the blame for the pain. It starts with you not taking the blame for the pain. That's the first thing. The second thing, after you acknowledge that you've been hurt, it's not your fault. I would then say to your viewers, go to that person. Now, going to that person sometimes can be uh, in a very practical way. You're going to them literally, rather going to them. I've also known people to write letters. I've known people to send texts.
Mhm.
Acknowledge that it's not your fault, and then be willing to face that person in whatever form you can, and say to them, "You've done me wrong, but I'm
Mhm.
not going to allow your hurt to hold me hostage."
Oh. Oh, this is wonderful. This is absolute, and this is something that we can do. This is
Yes,
a decision that no one else has control over.
that's
So,
exactly right, Dr. Bain.
as we come to the end of the show, what I'd like to do is share with you a very brief meditation. It may take about 90 seconds or 2 minutes, but one of the other things you can do to increase your ability, or nurture your ability to forgive, is to focus your attention on the good things in your life instead of the bad things. And
Mhm.
so I'm going to ask you, this is a meditation that I've adapted from Rhonda Byrne. She is the author of The Secret. This is a book that came out almost 20 years ago. And so it's just very brief, but I believe it's powerful. And if you do it over and over again, you will get this sense of positive thoughts and feelings. So I ask you to lower your gaze or close your eyes. And we're going to focus on positive thoughts and generate positive feelings. And so I taught you how to breathe um, earlier in the show. So you breathe in through your nose slowly, and then out through your mouth. And then I'm going to ask you to continue breathing slowly in through your nose, out through your nose and mouth, and then silently repeat to yourself the word thank you. So I'm going to say it, and then you say it silently. And if you're at a place where you can say it out loud, then you get the vibration of the word thank you. So here we go. We're going to say thank you 8 times. So continue to breathe, and every time you breathe in, you put that thank you into your heart. So here we go. Thank you. Thank you. Breathe it in and out. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We're halfway there. Put it into your heart. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Take a nice deep breath in and seal in all those thank yous. Before we end, I want to read a poem that came to me when I was praying and really wanting to forgive a family member. And it's called I'm Praying, and it's on 181 in the physical book and 117 ebook. And it goes like this: I'm praying, you've been on my mind. I'm praying for your heart to be kind. I'm praying that all is well with you today. I'm praying for heartfelt words to say.
Mm.
I'm praying for your gentleness. I'm praying that I extend forgiveness. I'm praying for us to share smiles. I'm praying they last a while. I'm praying you embrace self care. I'm praying you know we want you here.
Mm.
I'm praying for family unity. I'm praying and welcome the opportunity. And I want you to know that after this poem, we did reconcile.
Mm.
But as life would happen, that person hurt me again. So I'm back into the dynamic way of getting enough, I don't know, courage
Mm.
to forgive that person again. So what I'm doing right now, I'm protecting myself. I'm staying away, and then I'm going to go at it again. And it's a risk, right, Bishop?
Yeah.
It's a risk.
You know, it's interesting, if
Mhm,
I may, Doc,
mhm,
when you talked about this and reading that in that last statement, there was a word of the day I left last week that simply said, sometimes you have to put distance between you and the person you love if they're not willing to love you yet.
yeah, yeah,
Sometimes, and distance is not divorce. Distance is not canceling out. Distance is not writing off. It's simply saying, I'm going to put some space until you're ready to love me the way I'm supposed to be loved.
yeah. I'm so glad you put it in that perspective,
Mhm.
because it's okay to protect ourselves. You know,
Yes.
and there's a difference in writing someone off
Hmm.
permanently or protecting
That's exactly right.
yourself. So I'm going to put a call out to action to the viewers, and there is a forgiveness quiz that I'd like you to take, because I'm going to revisit this forgiveness topic, focusing on how do you forgive yourself. So
Wow.
I'm going to call to action forgiveness quiz. I'll drop it in the chat, and along with that, I'll drop in several resources that I found helpful in developing this segment. I want to thank Bishop Clark for another phenomenal show, and beginning the second year with just such positive energy and wisdom. Bishop Clark, I just thank you so much. And I know I need to let you go because you have service to get to, but
Yes.
thank you so much, and God continue to bless you and all the lives you are touching.
Thank you, Dr. Van. And I say to you and your listeners, please understand, forgive, because there's so much life left to live. So much life left to live.
Yes. And we want to live it with joy and peace
Yes.
and harmony. And that's not a fantasy. You can do that. You can
Yes,
live
you can.
your life. So I'll see you. I'll see you at church.
All right. God bless you. Thank you, guys.
Okay, bless you.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you. And so please join me every first and third Sunday here live at 9 a.m. Pacific time. I ask you to like and share this program if it's been helpful to you. Leave comments because I do read them and I will respond to your questions. Subscribe so that you will know when new program is available. And I'm going to put this up so uh, you can go to my website and uh, get resources on self-care and healing. And again, I want to thank Bishop Clark for joining us today. And as always, I wish you love and light until we see each other again. And happy Thanksgiving.